First of all, I want to thank you all for coming. It's been the biggest Accelerate conference that we've ever had. So many people here. For me, it's always a very moving, personal moment to see so many people being here and spending their valuable time with us. So I appreciate it, and I hope every one of you is aware that the party yesterday was just the warm-up. The real party happens today. So I hope you can make it and can join us after this event and spend a few hours with us again. So let me get it started. Okay, that's how it works. Automation at the speed of change. I want to start with a bit of a personal moment. About 4.5 weeks back, I was subject to a bike accident, and this is exactly what my collarbone looks like now. And what you have to accept when this happens is, number one, that you're getting older. That's one of the fundamental takeaways. The other one is that you would not expect how fast your muscles melt. So one of the findings for me was that I will have to go to the gym now. I mean, as soon as I can, and take weights to bring the muscles up. And there is an analogy with testing that I want to get to in a second, but before that, I want to share some very, very nice stats on going to the gym. So first of all, we do have 9 million inhabitants, about that, in Austria, for the ones who have come from all over the world to visit us. And out of these 9 million people, what do you think? How many do have a gym membership? Any ideas? What is that? It is a bit more than 1 million. 1.1 million people, about 12% have a gym membership. I was really blown away by that number. By the way, for the US folks, 14% of the US people do have a gym membership. In the UK, on the other hand, it would be only 7%, whatever that tells us. But coming back to them, out of those 1.1 million, how many really go to the gym? What do you think? It is a stunning 80%, which do not go. And they don't go anymore. Usually people stop going to the gym after 24 weeks. So you're enthusiastic, you start doing stuff, but then all of a sudden it falls apart. However, it can be super rewarding when you go to the gym. 10% of the people who go to the gym meet their partners there. So that is interesting. But one is here, which I find even more funny, which is this one. 13% would be at home telling their better ones that they are going to go for the gym and they go somewhere else. So unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to find out where they go, and let's not discuss that any further. I was just wondering, how are they going to do it, right? You're supposed to be sweaty when you come home and stuff. So anyway, 13% don't go there. So what is the analogy? Regression testing is a bit like going to the gym. It is good for you, everybody knows that, but it's hard to start and it's hard to keep up. And a lot of people, they say they do it and they don't really do it. But when you do it, you want to make sure that you use your resources wisely, okay? The ones who I met yesterday for the party, I told them, you got to save some energy, guys, because the real party is going on today. So you want to make sure you use your resources wisely. And this is true for both flavors of testing, the progression testing and the regression testing. Has any one of you been ever running down a mountain? Who's been doing that? When I ran down a mountain the first time, I will never forget this experience, but not because of the great nature, but because of this here. You remember that? Running down a mountain with a very, very high probability is going to give you sore muscles. And you're going to use your resources wisely. That's true for the entire gym being fit, going for regression tests. It's not only true for progression. Of course, on progression, we have delivered great stuff. Even better now with our new test design studio, which you can have a look out there, which is now integrated into Q-Test and meant to help you come up with the best and most precise and most powerful test cases for your progression. We have acquired a company that helps us providing that optimization, that efficiency boost also for regression. And this is Live Compare. I don't want to talk about this briefly. It is about impact analysis. What impact analysis would do is that it takes the entirety of your objects in a certain system and finds out which ones of them are impacted by a certain change. So in this example, you would have a bit more than 3,000 that are in a system, and now we can reduce things down to the ones that are impacted by a certain upgrade update. This is an example from a true SAP system. But what you see from this is, while it reduces the scope, it can only do so much. We have come up with a completely different way of approaching this, and the effect of this is just stunning. All of a sudden, it is not a reduction about like 30%, 40% vis-a-vis the used objects. All of a sudden, people can narrow down the testing effort by 85% or even more. 85% being the average that we see. What we bring it down to is what we call the most at-risk objects. And here you see AI involved. So I gotta admit that this AI is not deep learning. It's a smart algorithm, and I want to explain it a bit more. It is not machine learning though. We're gonna see a real machine learning piece in a few minutes. So what we do here is, assume you have a changed object that we have identified by the impact analysis. What we're now going to do is, we're going to find out what potentially impacted objects are there, but we narrow these down to the ones that need to be tested to check all the changes. And we do this with a pretty obvious method. We say, the closer the testable object to the change, the better it's qualified to serve. In addition, what we would do is we would bring information from production into the system to make it even more crisp and precise. This information being how often you use an object, what is the risk associated with the object. So with this, what we really do is we close the loop of DevOps, bringing production information into the system. And you will see us as a company doing that on a strategic basis more often and more often and more often, because this is how data really can help you optimize your software tests. Let me back this up with a real customer example. This is a very large company out there, one of the largest companies in the oil and gas business. And this customer example has been done a few days ago. What we have been doing is we have checked what happens when they release their Q4 SAP instance. It's 9 production systems. It's about 29,000 objects, and they even had invested in software testing massively before with 9,000 UFT scripts. So what we have been doing is, first of all, we have had a look with the most at-risk objects. And what you get from this is this tree map. This tree map would reveal, first of all, which objects have not been affected by the change. These are the ones in light gray here. The dark gray ones would be the ones that are impacted. And out of those, you see how powerful we can narrow it down to the blue ones, which are the most at risk. So it should be optically obvious to you immediately how powerful this strategy is in narrowing down your testing efforts. The next step, which we would do, is we would certainly want to project these most at-risk objects onto what you have from a testing perspective already, to identify what we call the test gap. To get to this, Tosca comes into play. Now we unify the outcome of live compare with Tosca, and we find out in this example the blue ones are covered, whereas the white ones are not covered. This is your test gap. Unfortunately, this is a pretty theoretical picture. When we look into what people usually have for testing, the picture is entirely different. Also so for this customer example, because they had to accept that out of their 9,000 UFT scripts, they would just be able to cover 8% of the most at-risk objects. So not only that they had invested a ton of money in coming up with the tests, they also had to accept that the quality and performance of the test is very, very limited. What we're certainly going to do as a next step now, we're going to run this, and then you get to a pattern like this, which is going to reveal in green whether certain functionality has worked, and red is what has not worked. So with this, we get to a new world of impact analysis, making use of AI somehow, and you get to an overall of 85% test effort reduction. You get to regularly increased speed of delivery, 3.5x is our average, plus you will end up with way fewer defects in production. So having this product on, I was super, super enthusiastic, and I said, whenever we go in there, each and every customer in SAP is going to love that. But we had to learn that there is a different strategy going on in SAP, which is people don't go to the gym at all. What I mean by this is that more than 90% of enterprise customers would not have a real SAP test going. 90% of them would just have some key user tests involved, so they would take the key users, do some stuff for a couple of days, and then ship things in production. However, what that means is that they have to have what they call a hypercare phase. Have you heard that term, hypercare phase? That's a very painful experience. You have a system that is kind of not working, you have all hands on deck, and for 1.5 weeks, everybody is supposed to heal it. Guess what? Operating teams hate hypercare phases. The good news is that you don't need to do this anymore. I mean, the strategy was valid. Imagine the other ones had 9,000 UFT scripts. They invested 7-digit numbers to get there for 8% most at-risk objects coverage. Are you kidding me? Knowing that, I would also go for a hypercare phase. With what we are doing now with Live Compare, that substantially reduces the need for testing, brings it in a different mode. You do not need to be afraid of the testing anymore. We're going to make your gym a better place. This is here for SAP. It is here for SAP S/4HANA, for the classic and the new modern world, and it's going to be extended quickly. In Q1, we want to have it extended to Salesforce. In Q2, we want to have it extended to ServiceNow, and then we're actually right now debating whether it's going to be Pega, it's going to be Workday as the next systems to follow. So you see us bringing packaged app after packaged app to the plate. That was the first one. The next thing I wanted to talk to you about is automation. And now we're going to enter a field of real AI, of real deep machine learning. What we have brought to the market has been a renovation, a revolution. Some years ago, we changed the paradigm from script-based, where each and every automation needs to be a developer discipline, into what we call model-based automation. So we came up with the business abstraction of the automation. And this was a huge step of progress, because what you can do is you can generate definitions very, very quickly. You may have seen our SFTC adapter that does it in 90 seconds for an entire application. But still, when you come to automation, you need to have this technical information somewhere which is kind of the glue between the business definition and the execution vis-a-vis the user interface. So people had to come up with these modules. And we thought to ourselves, wait a minute, you as a user of software, you do not need to have knowledge about the technical definition at all, right? If your UX designer did a good job, then the application should be self-explanatory. You know how to interact with it without knowing anything about the underlying technology. Don't know whether it's HTML, it's Java, you don't know whether it's an Android, an iOS, whatever. So it should be possible to get rid of this, to get rid of the technical information. And the promise and the advantages are absolutely obvious, because all of a sudden you do not need to come up with technical customizations. And then there is another great advantage that I have been made aware by one of our partners who said, wait a minute, if you can do this, we do not need to have these clean rooms anymore. You know what that is? You would have an offshore center somewhere, for instance in India, where people would want to have to ship an application there, which is a very, very tedious and painful process because you have to follow some compliance rules and stuff. As soon as you now can interact with an application without knowing the technology underneath, you can hide this behind Citrix or any other desktop virtualization. So you do not need those clean rooms anymore. So we said, okay, we want to have this radically new optical engine. Optical technology independent, being able to deal with all these technologies, with all different operating systems, being able to deal with desktop virtualization. And the answer is it needs to be AI-powered. No chance without AI. And the first problem we had to solve was, we got to give it a name. So, who's seen Matrix? Almost all of you. So you know this guy. What's his name? Neo. You know when he's getting really cool, when he was able to slow down the bullets? Did you see that? You remember that? All of a sudden they would all fall down. This is how cool this is. It's able to slow down bullets. So Neo is the name of the engine. And we are not the first ones to try, but we are the first ones to succeed. And let me share with you why. Others are able to deal with simple static controls like an added box, a combo box, and stuff. However, as soon as things become a little more dynamic or they are composite, then all of a sudden they fail. Let me give you an example of what I mean by this. This is a real application. You want to select the year of construction here. This is a drop-down element. How do you find out that this is a drop-down element? You have two ways to find that out. One is this little arrow. You see that? So when you click on it, it's going to provide you with a list. The other one, it says select. So you as a user know that. But guess what? For a machine, this is very, very hard to understand. The machine is going to find out that this is a drop-down as soon as you click on it. When you click on it, you get this list of entries, and then you can select something. You will maybe even have to scroll a bit. It's not that trivial a task. All the ideas and engines out there before Neo could not deal with that. Some of you have tried, and a lot of you are frustrated. I heard a lot of feedback going on the conference about it. Why is it so hard? In order to explain that, I got to ask you another question. What is the most famous quote of an Austrian ever? What was that? I'll be back. Yes, that's the one. And you remember who did it. So, this guy, and when this picture was taken, he was already fully in the fight. And then you would see in the movie how the thing operates. You would see that detection mode going, and you would see that all of a sudden the target is identified. This is an awesome story. However, back then, in the 80s, it wasn't doable. It wasn't doable because in order to do this, you gotta be as fast as the human eye. And the human eye is incredibly fast when it comes to pattern detection. Do you know how many pictures per second the human eye can do? Anyone knows that? 24. 24 pictures per second. Neo does 40 pictures per second. You gotta be faster than the human eye. 40 pictures per second. Do you know what the competition does? 1 picture, 8 seconds. That's 300x. And it's not just about the speed, it's also about the accuracy. Neo is incredibly accurate, 95+% detection. And that's why we have patents pending. There's 3 patents out there. One is for OCR, the other one is for control detection, and the third one for control steering. That's how fundamentally new this is. So what I would like to do now is I would like to share a very, very quick video that illustrates this Terminator mode. So you're going to see how the detection works with the precision that's going on. That's a video. But then in addition, we're going to have something for you which I was begged to not do because it's a live act. And you should never do a live act on a keynote. But I said, I trust these guys, they're going to make it work even if it's live. So afterwards, you're going to see me dictate commands. Our artificial intelligence is going to immediately convert that into a script, which you're going to see, and then it's going to execute it via the application. So we have just one piece of risk in this, I got to admit that. We have trained it on my yesterday's voice before the party. So I'm not sure it's going to detect me correctly today, but I hope so. If not, Dave, you have to tell the machine what's going on, okay? So first of all, the video. This is ServiceNow. And we have picked it because ServiceNow is a pretty popular system. And what I would like to make you aware of is this element here, which is a table. And you have controls in here, and when we do stuff in this table, then additional elements will be added to the table. Additional rows will be created, additional fields will pop up. And what you're going to see is how our engine is going to find that out. So you're going to see frames around it, and you're going to see the precision that it comes up with. Here is the accuracy of the control detection. This is an input field. And here is the accuracy of the object framing. And that is going to constantly work and change. And you're going to even see the accuracy of the OCR embedded. So what's happening is we're going to see this now on a split screen. On top, you have the table. And in the bottom, you have the recognition of Neo. So when I start doing this, you're going to see me typing stuff in, and you see the immediate reaction on Neo, and you will not see any delay. Why? Because this thing is faster than your eye is. So see what's going on. We're typing things in. It's finding out. Now we get an introduction of a new field. Tack, here it is. You saw any delay? There is no delay. And now we're going to go into the hardest part and going to do a little bit of a live demo. So my brother in crime on this, together with 2 others, is Dave. He has prepared the laptop for me. And you tell me when you're ready. Can we switch over to this machine? So this is again ServiceNow. And what you see now is in the very bottom, you're going to see the translation of the commands. that I'm trying to speak into the system. And as soon as I don't enter any voice for like 2 to 3 seconds, then the machine finds out, aha, now I'm ready to execute. And it's going to execute the command right away. Are we good to go? Select one from urgency. Select new from state. Select new from state. Enter accelerate conference in short description. Type this is cool in additional comments. Click the submit button. Click the submit button. Imagine I would have said this in given when then. Oh, I think we can shut this off. So, you know what I mean, huh? This is how you close the gap to BDD instantly. There is no tech definition anymore. BDD is going to be completely streamlined into the execution all of a sudden. What you're seeing here today is the start of a new era in UI automation. Thanks, Dave. So, we've trained this on 520,000 controls as of yet. And that is a lot, but it's not enough. To make sure it is accurate for each and every technology out there, we got to increase this to 5 million at least. So we are asking for your help. We have started with a closed beta. Starts today is not accurate because we announced it yesterday. And guess what? We were looking to get 30 customers to sign up. At 9 a.m. it started. And at 11:30, we had more than 50 already signed up. So if you're willing to contribute to this great project, here is an invite. What we would love you to do is send your screens so that we can have them labeled by some external help and feed it back into the systems. And you will be the ones contributing to this great project. Q2 2020 is when we're going to make this publicly available. So stay tuned. It's not going to be for software test automation, but of course, it's also going to be for RPA. Because we see a convergence of automation happening. And you've heard about this a few times today, but let me wrap it up already. Software test automation and robotic process automations are just two instances of automation which are eventually going to converge into one. Not today, but I believe in 2 years from now we're going to see this happening. And there is already pieces of evidence to that. We see that our GSI partners start forming shared automation teams that can be used by both software testing experts and business process experts, one pointing on software test, the other one pointing on RPA. This is happening today. It's happening with GSIs, it's happening with customers. And another piece of evidence to this is that we see people already certifying on RPA, even though we haven't been doing a great job in marketing it to the outside. More than 2K certificates are already out there with our GSI friends for the RPA space. Why do we believe that there is a gig for us on RPA? You have seen me this communicating a year ago. We have projected that at a certain point of time there's going to be this big valley of disillusionment happening that follows this hype cycle curve where we're going to find out that people find out that bots break. And we have heard that repeatedly. And we've got confirmation of this by a lot of customers who have done their first experiences with RPA. They found out that the bots break. What we need to provide is a more resilient way of doing these bots. And you have seen an integrated piece of that a couple of minutes before. The strength that we bring to the market is you'll be able to create bots faster. You're going to be able to make resilient bots, and you're going to be able to reuse the automation, both from a skills perspective, but also from an asset perspective. And I think that's very relevant. You will have your test automation to test the bots up front in the future. So we have been focusing on Studio for the first couple of months, 2019. Then we have switched it over to Orchestrate, and now we are ready to shift this out. We have had an 11 consecutive pilots going, which we are closing as we speak. So you can make use of the strongest automation engine, get the most resilient bots, and you can reuse the skills. This is the core advantage that we bring to the market. And with that, I want to close it down. A new area of UI automation has started. The name of this is Neo, and it starts today. You reuse your automation with RPA, the way we do it. It's part of a bigger automation play. But before you do automation, make sure you do the right stuff and test less, which you can do with our great Live Compare product. That's all I had. Thank you.